And that's really our mission today. We're diving deep into the fundamentals of English grammar. We're drawing from uh, a comprehensive course that's designed specifically to unlock that clarity and sophistication in how you communicate.
Think of it as a guide, maybe. A way to sound a bit sharper, be understood better.
Without getting totally bogged down in, endless confusing rules or jargon.
Right. Simplifying the complex stuff.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Language.
Oh.
It's how we get our ideas across, isn't it? And right at the heart of that are sentences. But what actually makes a sentence work? What makes it tick?
That's the perfect starting point. To convey any kind of complete idea, you need a medium. And that medium, as you said, is the sentence.
Like, I want a glass of water. Simple.
Exactly. That simple phrase, that utterance, it conveys a complete message. The person listening understands your need immediately. It's clear, it's concise, it does its job because it's a complete sentence.
It's the basic building block for getting a thought out there.
Precisely. It's fundamental. But if the sentence is the building block, then the real core, let's say the DNA of that sentence, that's what we call a clause.
A clause, okay.
Right. Think of it like a mini thought unit. At its most basic level, a clause is just a combination of words that has a subject and a verb. And those two components are absolutely critical. It has to have a subject, the who or what doing the action,
Right.
and it has to have a verb, the action or the state of being.
Got it. Subject and verb, essential.
Take a really simple example. Ram enjoyed. Okay, Ram, that's our subject. Enjoyed, that's the verb. It's a complete clause. It gives you a picture, even though it's short. Who did what?
So even just two words can be a clause. If it's got that subject-verb pair, it's not about how long it is.
Exactly right. Length doesn't matter. It's about having that core subject-verb relationship. Now, clauses can be simple, like Ram enjoyed, but often, they combine to make more complex expressions.
Like sentences are usually longer than two words.
Consider the sentence. She is crying because her father died. Now, this actually contains two separate individual clauses.
Okay, let's break that down.
The first part, she is crying. That's one clause. She is the subject. Is crying is the verb phrase. That works on its own, doesn't it?
Yeah, she is crying. Makes sense.
Then you have the second part. Her father died. Here, her father is the subject.
Okay.
And died is the verb. Another complete subject-verb unit.
So two clauses there. What about the because?
Good question. Because is a connector. We'll talk more about those later, but its job here is to link those two clauses together, showing the relationship, the reason why she's crying. But she is crying and her father died are the core clauses themselves.
That's really interesting. So, okay, we have these clauses, these many thoughts. Do they all kind of carry the same weight in a sentence? Do they all make sense by themselves, or do some need the other part to make sense? This feels important for understanding how ideas link up.
That's an excellent question, and it gets right to the heart of the two main types of clauses. Each plays a different role in building the overall meaning. We have independent clauses and dependent clauses.
Independent and dependent. Okay.
Let's start with the independent clause. You'll often hear it called the main clause. Think of it like a self-sufficient thought. It makes complete sense all by itself.
Stands alone.
Exactly. It stands alone and it holds the complete meaning. The name independent really says it all. It doesn't need any other words or clauses hanging around to make its meaning clear. You could write it out, put a capital letter at the start, a period at the end, and boom, valid sentence.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Ram shouted. Simple, right? Ram is the subject. Shouted is the verb. That statement is perfectly clear and complete, just like that. Tells you what happened.
Yep, got it.
Or Lakshman watched a movie. Again, Lakshman subject, watched verb, a movie object. It's a complete thought, doesn't rely on anything else for its meaning. Full piece of information right there.
Okay, so it's like a mini sentence that's perfectly happy on its own. I get why it's called independent. Makes perfect sense.
Precisely. Now, on the other side of the coin, we have the dependent clause, sometimes called a subordinating clause.
Dependent.
Yeah.
So it needs something else.
Exactly. As the name suggests, it depends entirely on a main clause to make full sense. Now, here's the tricky bit. It does have a subject and a verb, just like an independent clause.
Oh, okay, so it looks like a clause.
It has the structure, yes, but by itself, it just doesn't convey a complete thought. It kind of leaves you hanging, waiting for the rest of the information, like a puzzle piece that needs the other pieces to show the whole picture.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Imagine I just said, you bought for me.
Bought what? Yeah, exactly. It feels incomplete.
Right. Your immediate thought is, bought what for me? It's grammatically structured subject you, verb bought, but the meaning isn't complete. Or how about, the cat was smarter?
Smarter than what? Yeah, same feeling.
Exactly. Smarter than what? What's the comparison? These clauses, even though they have a subject and verb, they're just incomplete on their own. They depend on a main clause to finish the thought, to make sense. They add extra information, context, conditions, but they don't carry the main message by themselves.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because once you get this idea of clauses, independent ones standing alone, dependent ones needing help understanding the different types of sentences, suddenly feels much easier.
It really does click into place, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like you start seeing the architecture. This is where we move from just having words to crafting messages with real structure and nuance. So let's talk about those 4 main sentence types.
Absolutely. Knowing the building blocks of those clauses truly unlocks how sentences are constructed. It's like knowing about bricks versus understanding how to build, well, maybe not a skyscraper, but definitely a solid house.
Huh. Good analogy.
Let's start with the simplest structure, but one that's incredibly powerful. The simple sentence. A simple sentence basically contains only one clause, just one independent clause.
One subject, one verb, one complete thought.
Exactly. It makes complete sense and stands independently. Think of it as a single focused statement like Rama's a good boy, subject. Rama verb is, complement, a good boy. One concise idea, clear, direct. Another one, the tiger ran, subject. Tiger verb, ran. Complete action conveyed. Simple sentences are, super common in everyday chat.
Yeah, we use them all the time without thinking.
And for good reason. They're efficient, direct, they hit hard. Knowing when to just use a simple sentence can really cut through the noise and make your point land, especially for facts or strong statements. They're like the power hits of communication.
Power hits, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the foundation. But obviously, we combine these power hits, right? Or add layers to them for more complicated ideas. How do we build from that simple base?
Precisely. We build complexity. Next up is the compound sentence. This type is a combination of 2 or more independent clauses. That's the key. Both or all clauses could stand alone. They're equals.
2 power hits joined together.
You got it. And they're usually joined by what we call coordinating conjunctions. Many people find the acronym MBOYS helpful here.
Fanboys.
Ah.
Okay, refresh my memory.
Sure. It stands for and, nor, but, or yet so. These little words act like bridges connecting those 2 equally strong independent ideas. They show the relationship between them, addition, contrast, cause and effect, etc., without making one clause seem less important than the other.
So it links 2 main ideas. Example.
Okay, how about she enjoys reading and she loves writing short stories. See? She enjoys reading. That's an independent clause.
Makes
So
no
it's-
sense alone.
She loves writing short stories. Also independent.
Yep.
The and just joins them, showing addition.
Hmm.
If we use but instead, she enjoys reading, but she finds writing difficult. Now it shows a contrast between 2 equal ideas. So understanding fanboys isn't just memorizing a list. It's about seeing how each one changes the relationship between those main points.
Okay. So it's not just connecting them, it's connecting them with a specific relationship indicated by that fanboys word.
Got it. What happens when the ideas aren't quite equal, like one main idea and then some extra info or context? Excellent question. That brings us directly to the complex sentence. A complex sentence combines one independent clause or main idea with one or more dependent clauses, the extra info, the context, the conditions.
So one strong clause and at least one that needs help.
Exactly. And these are joined by subordinating conjunctions. Unlike the coordinating conjunctions, amboys, that link equals, subordinated conjunctions introduce that dependent clause and show its relationship to the main one. Often things like time, cause, condition, contrast. They show a kind of hierarchy. This idea depends on that main one.
Are there common ones for these subordinating conjunctions, like fanboys?
There are many, but a helpful mnemonic for some really common ones is a white boo.
A white bee.
Okay.
It stands for although, whenever, however, if, though. Even if, because, unless, since. Not all of them, of course, but it covers quite a few useful ones.
Okay, although, when, however, if, though, even if, because, unless, since. Got it. How does that look in a sentence? Let's take this example. If she calls, let me know. Okay. If she calls, that's our dependent clause. It has a subject, she, and a verb, calls, but.
But it leaves you hanging. If she calls, then what?
Precisely. It doesn't make sense on its own. It sets up a condition. Now, let me know. That is an independent clause. It's a complete command, a complete thought.
Right, let me know, Kier.
The word if is the subordinating conjunction here. It connects the dependent clause, if she calls, to the independent one, let me know, showing the conditional relationship. This structure is great for building cause and effect, conditions, timing, adding those layers of detail.
Yeah, I see that. The if part explains the circumstance for the main action, let me know.
Yeah,
It really shows that dependence. Okay, one main clause, one or more dependent clauses.
you've got it. And finally, we get to the most, let's say, elaborate structure. You see this more in maybe academic writing or very detailed explanations. The compound complex sentence.
Compound complex, okay. Sounds like it mixes things up.
It does exactly that. As the name suggests, it's a combination of elements from both compound and complex sentences. So this type needs at least 2 independent clauses.
Like a compound sentence.
Right. And it needs at least 1 dependent clause.
Like a complex sentence.
Exactly. It puts them all together. So you'll have a mix of coordinating conjunctions, like fanboys linking the independent clauses, and subordinating conjunctions, like a white bus linking the dependent clauses. This is where you can really weave together multiple related ideas with different levels of importance and connection.
Wow, okay. Can you give an example of that beast?
Sure. How about, when class started, Ram came and he sat down. Let's dissect that one.
Good.
When class started, what do you think?
Subject class, verb started. But when class started, feels incomplete. Dependent.
Perfect. Dependent clause, it sets the time but needs more. Now Ram came.
Subject ram, verb came. Sounds complete. Independent.
Correct. And he sat down.
Subject he for a phrase sat down. Also sounds complete. Independent.
Excellent. So we have 1 dependent clause and 2 independent clauses. Now look at the connectors. When connects the dependent clause, when class started, to the first independent clause, Ram came. That's a subordinating conjunction.
Yeah, showing time.
Then and connects the 2 independent clauses, Ram came and he sat down. That's a coordinating conjunction, a fanboy's word.
Linking 2 equal main actions. Wow.
See how it weaves together the timing? When class started, the first main event, Ram came, and the subsequent main event, he sat down. This structure lets you build really rich, detailed narratives or arguments showing multiple relationships simultaneously.
That's actually brilliant. It's not just about grammar rules. It's about strategically choosing the structure to best get your meaning across. Simple, compound, complex, compound, complex. They let you craft messages with different levels of nuance and sophistication.
Precisely. It's about how the words connect, how ideas relate, the emphasis you give them. You can build incredible complexity from simple parts.
It really is about making communication more precise, more persuasive. And varying these structures probably keeps things more interesting for the listener too, right?
Absolutely. A skilled communicator mixes it up, keeps the audience engaged, and helps convey complex thoughts without just overwhelming them with, one long rambling sentence after another.
Okay, so we have the structures. But imagine trying to tell a story or explain something complex if you couldn't smoothly link your ideas. It would just choppy, right? Confusing, like jumping between thoughts without any connection.
Yeah, it would be really hard to follow.
This is where connectors or linking words become so important. They are, as the source material says, very, very important to take your speech to the next level. They're the bridges between thoughts.
They really are the unsung heroes. Instead of just saying, so then, and then so, repetitively, these connectors provide much more elegant transitions. They help you replace that repetition and, frankly, sound smarter, more articulate.
They guide the listener, right? Show the logical flow.
Exactly. They make your ideas flow seamlessly from one point to the next. Now, there are tons of these connectors grouped into maybe 14 or so categories, a huge list. But we don't need to cover all of them. Let's just focus on a few key types to get a real feel for their power and how they subtly shift the meaning.
Okay, practical examples. Let's see them in action.
Great. Let's start with the category of explanation. You use these when you want to add more information, clarify something you just said, or maybe rephrase it in simpler terms.
Okay, like giving more detail.
Right. A good one is namely, for instance, I have a good reason not to talk to him. Namely, he is always rude to me. You state the general reason, good reason, then namely introduces the specific clarifying detail that explains why. It pinpoints the exact reason.
Ah, I see. Very precise.
Another really useful one is, in other words, try this. Don't be rude when you are successful. In other words, be down to earth. Here, in other words, takes the first statement and rephrases it, often into something simpler or more direct, ensuring the audience gets the intended meaning. It's about clarity through restatement.
Like saying the same thing differently to make sure it lands.
Exactly. And similar, but slightly different, is put differently. Example, we aren't talking to each other anymore. Put differently, we have broken up. This often signals an alternative phrasing that might be more blunt or more specific, or just offer a different angle on the same situation. Again, it's about clarity and emphasis.
I can really hear how those make things smoother. It sounds much more like you're anticipating the listener might need that extra clarification.
It adds a layer of thoughtfulness, doesn't it? Okay, next category, contrasting ideas. These are crucial when you want to show opposition, an unexpected result, or introduce a counter-argument. We often just use but, which is fine.
But maybe a bit basic sometimes.
Exactly. It can sound a bit simplistic if used constantly. A great alternative is however, like, they played really well, however they couldn't win the match. It shows that unexpected outcome after the positive statement. It introduces a kind of reservation or twist.
More formal, but almost.
Sort of, yeah. Another strong one is nevertheless. She was very tired, nevertheless she went to work. This implies that despite the tiredness, the action still happened. It often highlights determination or overcoming an obstacle. It feels a bit stronger than, however, suggesting a bigger hurdle was cleared.
Yeah. Nevertheless, feels like it carries more weight, like in spite of that.
It does. And for a really direct opposition or a strong rebuttal, you have on the contrary. Imagine, I thought he was working, but on the contrary, he was sleeping. This directly contradicts the previous thought. It's much more forceful than just but. Using these elevates your argument beyond simple opposition.
Wow. Yeah, those definitely add more nuance than just sticking but everywhere. They make the argument feel more layered, more, well, intelligent.
That's a good way to put it. That subtle shift from but to however or nevertheless really shows a command of language that makes your communication more impactful. Okay, final category for now, conclusion connectors. These are for wrapping things up.
Signaling the end is near.
Right, summarizing, bringing it all together, provides a sense of closure. Phrases like in conclusion are often used in more formal settings, writing or speeches. In conclusion, it can be said that cats are the best pets. It clearly marks the final thought after laying out your argument.
Okay, very clear signal.
For something maybe slightly less formal but still summarizing, you have in summary. In summary, if you wish to be successful, be around successful people. This often condenses a larger discussion or several points into one key takeaway. It gives the gist.
The bottom line.
Exactly. And a very common, maybe slightly more conversational one is to sum up. To sum up, people are well behaved when they are happy. All of these effectively tell your audience, okay, here's the main point I want you to leave with. They're vital signposts.
So yeah, these aren't just fancy vocabulary. They are genuine tools for guiding your listener, making sure the logic flows smoothly. They're like signposts on the road of your explanation.
Perfectly put. And you raised a great point earlier. Choosing the right connector subtly shifts the meaning. Think about, I wanted to go, but I was tired, versus, I wanted to go, nevertheless, I was tired.
Yeah. The second one feels like the tiredness was a bigger deal, but maybe you went anyway, or the desire was stronger. It adds complexity.
Exactly. The first is a simple conflict. The second suggests more of a struggle, maybe resilience. It's about that precision. These words help convey not just what you're saying, but the exact relationship between your ideas or even how you feel about them.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. When we talk about time, past, present, future English grammar, it gives us this incredibly powerful, sometimes intimidating tool. Tenses.
Ah, yes, tenses, the source of much joy and confusion for learners.
Right. It might seem daunting, 12 of them in total. But they are grouped logically, aren't they, into those three big buckets, past, present, and future.
That's the key. 3 main categories, and then within each of those there are 4 subsections. Simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. That structure helps make sense of it all. It lets us pinpoint when an action happens, but also things like its duration or whether it's finished. It allows for amazing precision.
Let's dive into some of the most common ones, maybe the ones that cause the most trouble. Starting with the present seems logical.
Sounds good. Let's start with the simple present tense. Structure-wise, it's usually just the base form of the verb, but, and this is crucial, you add that S or S for singular subjects in the third person. He walks, she teaches, it runs.
Right, that's S rule. Easy to forget. What's it used for?
It's surprisingly versatile. First, for regular activities or habits. I go to the gym every day. It's a routine.
Okay, habitual actions.
Second, for universal facts or general truth. The sun rises in the east. Always true.
Undeniable facts. Got it.
Third, interestingly, for directions or instructions. To start your laptop, click on the power button, or take a left at the corner. We usually give instructions in the simple present because it describes the standard process.
Huh. I never thought about that, but yeah, recipes, directions, always simple present.
Exactly. And fourth, for permanent situations or states. I own a Mercedes. This implies a lasting situation, not something temporary. Keywords you often see are things like generally, usually, every day, often. It's about what's consistently true or happens regularly.
So routine, facts, instructions, permanent states. It's not just about right now, but what's generally or always true.
Precisely. Now contrast that with the present continuous tense. As the name suggests, this is for actions in progress right now. The structure is amisara plus verb plus...
Beaming.
Right, like I am teaching you folks right now. It's happening as we speak.
Mhm.
Or she's waiting for a friend. The waiting is in progress. It hasn't finished yet.
Okay, action happening now. What else?
It's also used for changing situations or trends. The price of onions is rapidly rising, or mobile phones are making it easier to stay in touch. These are ongoing processes, things actively unfolding over time.
Trends. Okay.
And crucially, it's used for temporary situations. This contrasts sharply with the simple presence permanence. If I say, I am living in Bangalore at the moment, it implies it's not permanent, maybe just for a few months.
Right. If it were permanent, you'd say, I live in Bangalore.
Exactly. Or she is working really hard for a job interview. This suggests the hard work is temporary, linked to that specific event. Keywords here are things like now, currently, at the moment, this week, this month.
That temporary versus permanent distinction is huge. I own a Mercedes, simple present, permanent, versus I am driving my friend's Mercedes this week, present, continuous, temporary. That clears up a lot.
It's a fundamental difference. Getting that right adds so much accuracy. Okay, ready to jump back in time?
Let's do it. Simple past.
Okay, the simple past tense. This describes actions that are completely finished, often with a specific time mentioned or implied. For regular verbs, you add ed or completed, watched. Irregular verbs have their own special forms: went, took, saw.
And the negative.
Ah, yes, important point. For negatives, you use did not plus base form of the verb. Remember, did already carries the past tense signal, so the main verb stays in its present form. You say, she did not play, not did not played.
Right. That's a classic error. The did does the past tense work. Good reminder. So uses.
Primarily, completed actions in the past. I completed my assignment yesterday, action over, time specified. She finished the race, race done.
Finished actions. Simple enough.
Also for a series of completed actions in order, I went to the bookstore, took a book, and later came back home. It narrates a sequence of events that happen one after another in the past. Keywords like next or then often appear here.
Like telling a story in order.
Exactly. And lastly, for past situations that are no longer true. My dad worked for the police for 20 years. This strongly implies he doesn't work there anymore. That period of his life is over.
Okay, completed actions, sequences, things no longer true. Got it. Now, the tricky one. Present perfect.
Ah, yes, the present perfect tense, structure. Hash of plus past participle. The past participle is often the ed form for regular verbs, but many common verbs are irregular. Eaten, seen, gone, read, taken.
This is where it gets fuzzy for a lot of people, myself included sometimes. That connection between past and present. How does that work exactly?
You're right, it's a major stumbling block, but once you grasp its logic, it's incredibly useful. Let's break down its main uses, and hopefully that connection will become clearer. First, it's used for a task completed, but the time period it happened in is not over yet.
Okay, task done, time period still going. Example.
I have eaten 2 chapatis this morning. The eating is finished, yes, but if it's still morning, the time period this morning isn't over. This implies maybe I could eat more, or the action is relevant to the ongoing morning. Similarly, she has met me this week. The meeting happened, but the week continues.
Okay. The time frame is still open.
Second, for an activity in the past before now, but the specific time is either unknown, unspecified, or just not important. It emphasizes the experience or the result. I have finished plenty of work. When exactly? Doesn't matter. The point is the work is done now, and maybe that means I'm free now.
Focus on the result, not the timing.
Right. Or she has wasted a lot of time with him. Again, the exact dates aren't the point. It's the fact of the wasted time and its relevance now, perhaps a lesson learned.
Experience up to now. Got it.
Third, and this is key for that past-present link, for a present situation that started in the past and continues to the present. I have taken care of this kid for 7 years. The caring began 7 years ago and is still happening now.
Still ongoing.
Exactly. Or She has lived in this house since 1998. She started living there in 98 and still lives there today. This use often involves for to show the duration for 7 years or since to show the specific starting point since 1998.
Crucial for ongoing states. Okay, one more.
Yes. Fourth, for an activity in the past that has a direct connection to the present through its result or impact. Ram has read all the articles related to crime. The reading happened in the past, but the result he now possesses that knowledge is relevant in the present.
The past action affects the present state.
Precisely. Or the classic example, I've lost my keys. The losing happened sometime before now, but the present result is crucial. I don't have my keys now. Keywords often seen with present perfect include ever, never, before, already, yet, just, recently, so far, up to now, still.
Okay, so this brings us right back to that core confusion point, doesn't it? Present perfect versus simple past. They both talk about the past, but that connection to the present or lack thereof is the key difference.
You've nailed it. This is the distinction that, once mastered, makes a huge difference. It's that aha moment for so many learners. Let's really focus on the core differences. First, as you said, the connection to the present. Present perfect always has some link. I have read quite a lot of books implies the reading might continue or the knowledge gained is relevant now. It bridges past and present.
Whereas simple past is just past.
Exactly. Simple past only talks about the past, disconnected from now. I read the book just states a finished fact about the past, done, over, no stated current relevance.
Okay, connection to present, yes for perfect, no for simple past. What else?
Time specificity. Present perfect often deals with unspecified time. I have read the book. When? We don't know. It's not the focus. Just sometime before now.
But simple past usually tells you when.
Almost always, yes. Simple past usually comes with a specific time marker, either stated or clearly implied. I read the book when I was on the metro. That phrase pinpoints the time. Or I read the book yesterday. Very specific.
So simple past answers when, clearly.
Right.
Present perfect is more about what has happened up until now or what's the result now.
That's a great way to summarize it. And one more crucial difference. Time period finish. Present perfect is used when the time period mentioned is unfinished. I have read 5 articles this week. If it's only Wednesday, this week is still open. I could read more.
Right, the week isn't over.
But simple past indicates the time period is finished. I read 5 articles last week. Last week is definitively over. That action is locked in that completed time frame. No possibility of adding more to that period.
Unfinished time this week. Present perfect. Finished time last week. Simple past.
You got it. Understanding this isn't just about grammar rules. It's about conveying the precise nuance of time and relevance. It's about the lingering impact.
That distinction really is an aha moment. It makes so much more sense now. Okay, moving on from time. Let's talk about those tiny little words. A, an, and the. Articles.
Articles. Small words, huge impact.
Right. They seem so minor, but they wield incredible power in defining things, making them specific or general. Getting them right instantly makes your English sound more polished, more precise.
Very true. They're often misused, even by advanced learners sometimes, but they're fundamental. Let's start with the indefinite articles, a and an.
A before consonant sounds and before vowel sounds.
Correct. And we use them with singular countable nouns, things you can count, like apple, book, idea, when you mention something for the first time, or when you're talking about one example from a larger group without being specific about which one.
Like introducing something new into the conversation.
Exactly. I bought an ice cream and a chocolate. First time mentioning them. They're singular, countable. We're not talking about a specific ice cream or chocolate yet. Just one of each type. It's indefinite.
Okay. And you mentioned one sometimes replaces an.
Yes, occasionally for emphasis on the number. Like if someone offers you cookies, you might say, "Can I have one chocolate cookie?" To stress the quantity, contrasting it with having more or none. But generally, for first mentions, it's a or an.
So alien for the first mention, general item. What happens when we talk about that same thing again, or when it's clear which one we mean?
That's where the definite article, the, steps in. We use the when something is considered unique in the context, or, crucially, when both the speaker and listener know which specific thing or person is being referred to.
Making it definite, specific.
Precisely. For uniqueness. Lucknow is the capital city of UP. There's only one. Or the sun is bright. Only one sun relevant to us, usually.
Okay, unique things.
And for shared knowledge, imagine we met someone yesterday. Today I could say, "Did you see the girl we met yesterday?" We both know exactly which girl I mean. It's specific because of our shared experience.
Right, it's not a girl anymore, it's the girl.
Exactly. The also comes before superlatives. The biggest, the most interesting, the cheapest. Because a superlative inherently singles out one specific item as unique in that quality.
Only one can be the biggest.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And it's common in that the ondo pattern in the middle of the night at the end of the road, the omdo helps specify a particular part of a larger concept.
Okay. What about names? Like places or people?
Good question. Generally, we don't use the with personal names or most place names, but there are exceptions for specific proper nouns, often referring to unique geographical features or groups. Oceans, the Pacific, rivers, the Nile, deserts, the Sahara, mountain ranges, the Himalayas, though usually not single mountains like Mount Everest.
Ranges, not single mountains. Okay.
Also, country names that are plural or suggest a group, the United States, the Netherlands, the Philippines. Some unique famous buildings, the Eiffel Tower, the Parliament, if context makes it unique, and nationalities when referring to the people as a whole, the French, the British. These are often fixed uses you just learn.
Wow. Okay. Lots of specific cases there. It really shows how much these tiny words define our world.
It really does. And sometimes we use no article at all. This is called the zero article.
Zero article. When does that happen?
We use it before uncountable nouns like water, information, advice, and plural countable nouns like cats, books, ideas, when we're talking about them in general as a concept, not specific instances. Children like playing, children in general. Information is key. Information as a concept.
Talking generally, not specific ones.
Exactly. We also use zero article with most proper names. Countries, India, Brazil, cities, London, Tokyo, continents, Asia, Europe, companies, Google, Microsoft, single mountains, Mount Fuji, lakes, Lake Geneva. These stand on their own.
Okay. Can we revisit that ice cream example to tie ND in and the together?
Perfect way to illustrate it. Let's expand. I bought an ice cream and a chocolate, first mentioned, indefinite. Later, I realized I only had room for the ice cream, so the chocolate remained uneaten.
Now it's the. Because we know which ice cream and chocolate you mean, the ones you just bought.
Precisely. It moves from introducing any item, a Carolian, to identifying the specific item, the, once it's established in the conversation. It guides the listener perfectly.
That's incredibly clear. Okay, let's unpack this final section. Common grammar mistakes. These are those little things, right? The tripwires that catch people out, but fixing them makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. These are often quick wins. Correcting them instantly makes your English sound more polished, more credible. They're very common, which means fixing them gives you immediate improvement.
Let's tackle them. What's first?
A very frequent one. Percentage versus percent. People mix these up all the time. The rule is simple. Use percentage when there's no specific number. You're talking about a general proportion or amount. A large percentage of the class passed. No number attached to percentage.
Okay, general amount, percentage.
Right. Use percent, usually written as one word, or the percent symbol, when there is a specific number right before it. I scored 90%, or only 10% failed. You have the number, so use percent. You'd never say 90 percentage.
90%. Okay. Number present kills percent. Got it. That's a good, clear rule. What's next?
Another pair that causes confusion, since versus for. This relates back to tenses, especially the present perfect. It's about time. Use since when you're indicating a starting point in time. I've lived here since 2010. 2010 is a specific point when it started. India has been independent since 1947. Starting point.
Since marks the beginning.
Correct. Use for when you're indicating a duration or a period of time, how long something lasted or has been going on. I lived there for 10 years. That's the duration. I was free for 4 hours, a period of time.
Before measures the length. Since points to the start.
Yeah.
Okay, that distinction is vital for talking about time accurately. And the last one. The one everyone struggles with.
The classic. The bane of many writers. It's versus its. They sound identical, but the spelling and meaning are totally different. Getting this wrong is often seen as a sign of carelessness in writing.
Okay, break it down for us one last time.
Its, no apostrophe, is the possessive pronoun. Like his or hers, but for it. It shows ownership or belonging. The cat chased its tail. The tail belongs to the cat. The company announced its profits. The profits belong to the company. No apostrophe for possession here.
It's belonging to it, like Hishers.
And exactly. It's, with an apostrophe, is always a contraction, a shortened form of either it is or it has. The apostrophe literally takes the place of the missing letter. It's a beautiful day means it is a beautiful day. It's raining means it is raining. It's been a long time means it has been a long time.
It has. The apostrophe is the clue for the missing letter.
That's the key. If you can substitute "it is" or "it has," and the sentence still makes sense, you need the apostrophe. If you're showing possession, no apostrophe. Remembering that it's works like his and hers, no apostrophe for possession really helps.
These seem like such small details, percent versus percentage, cents versus for, it's versus, but mastering them has a really outsized impact, doesn't it? It makes your communication instantly clearer and more professional.
Absolutely. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, mastering these seemingly minor points is fundamental to clear, effective, professional communication. They aren't just arbitrary rules, they're tools for precision. They show you care about clarity, about getting your message across accurately. They build trust and convey competence.
Wow, what a deep dive that was.
Ah,
We really covered some ground today, from the absolute basics clauses and sentence types, understanding how they build complexity, through the crucial role of connectors in making ideas flow.
those bridges between thoughts.
Exactly. Then navigating the nuances of tenses, especially that tricky present perfect versus simple past distinction. And finally, the subtle power of articles and fixing those common little errors like it's and its.
It provides a solid roadmap, hopefully, a way to think about expressing yourself with more precision, more impact. And remember, the goal isn't just to, memorize rules for their own sake. It's about understanding the logic behind them. Why does this structure exist? What purpose does this tense serve? That understanding is what unlocks truly effective communication.
Absolutely. It's about having the tools and knowing how and when to use them. And maybe, as a final thought for you, our listener, consider this. Every single time you speak or write, every word you choose, every sentence you construct, it's an act of creation, isn't it?
That's a lovely way to put it.
So how might this deeper understanding of these grammatical tools, the structures, the connectors, the tenses, the tiny articles, how might that empower you to create even more vivid, more persuasive, more authentic expressions of your own unique thoughts and ideas out there in the world? How can you use them to make your voice heard with even greater clarity?